Tonight, the family of a teen shot dead in Dennery say he was no saint, but that conflict should never be settled in blood. Mary Isaac is out, and political novice Bertrand Johannes is in as the UWP candidate for Castries South. And the police force warns citizens that being under the influence of alcohol is no excuse for breaking any laws. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Wednesday, the 31st of March, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovelace and Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Teenager Daniel Laurent was shot dead on Tuesday night. The family of the teen, who has been recorded as the island's latest homicide, have opened up to Hot 7 TV about the killing of their relative. Although the teenager has not been described as a saint, one relative is calling for the youth to find a better way to settle their differences. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
A teenager has become the island's latest homicide victim after he was shot in the White Rock Garden community at around 10 p.m. on Tuesday night. The victim has been identified as 17-year-old Daniel Laurent of Dennery. Police lines still cordon off the area. However, the clearest signs that the incident took place right here where we stand are the bloodstains on the ground. An aunt who temporarily raised Laurent lamented on the fact that he chose the wrong path in life.
Raising Daniel, I know he was a good person, and he is a good person, but then he went astray, and that was the problem.
She also had a lot to say about the mindset of the youth today in society.
What I have heard, it's touching, because in spite of what, this can be anybody, relatives, but the idea of people, youngsters are killing one another. This is not the way to go. Why do youngsters want to think that they can take each other's life just because they have a dispute? Then again, as the word of God tells us, life and death are in the tongue. And a lot of the youngsters, even I does hear what they does say about whenever they have an argument, even little boys, little girls saying, they would call each other Bula, or they would say, I will kill you. What happened to my nephew there is not something that I like. And I don't like it for nobody else who have find themselves into this situation. But I'm saying to the youngsters, the men especially, the prison has so many people already. The men who are in prison are asking to be free. Why do the youngsters want to get in there? I'm saying to the youth, stop killing one another. And if there is anything that's affecting one another, why don't they just go and speak to the families, you know? And also, I'm talking to the government of this country. They need to put things in order. You know, all the talk they're talking, but the work is not good enough, because in spite of what, you will call the hotline, they will still not answer you right away, or they will take people for granted, you know.
Meanwhile, another family member stated that the victim was no angel.
He was somebody that's very troublesome, to tell you the truth. And he used to steal a lot, touching, involve himself in a lot of whole drama, whole thing. Because the police, once they had, some people had come and report him there for lifting up a gun on them. But he's a troublesome little boy, troublesome.
Whilst we were on the scene, the police arrived to continue their investigation, led by Inspector Obeis of the Major Crimes Department. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV Nightly News in White Rock, Dennery, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
A resident of the White Rock community in Dennery, where teenager Daniel Laurent was killed on Tuesday night, is calling for St. Lucians to go back to the mindset where it is believed that it takes a community to raise a child. The resident, who says this sort of violence is new to his community, says the teenager was failed by society in general.
On the night of Tuesday, the 30th of March, the community of White Rock in Dennery was rocked by a string of gunshots, which resulted in the death of teenager Daniel Laurent. On Wednesday morning, one resident of the community in which the 17-year-old was killed has called for an end to the lip service surrounding the issue of violence and for more action to be taken, mainly by community members themselves, when it comes to raising the youth of the nation. Alan Regis said it is a hard pill to swallow as he realizes that the teenager could have had a different fate had he received the right amount of nurturing from not only his family but the entire community.
I think one thing is that persons need to listen. We don't listen. In my line of work, we learn that to be able to work with people, you need to meet them where they are. A lot of the times we complain, we say stuff, but we don't listen. I heard stories about this young man that was shot, about what he had been through in those few years that he's been on earth. And no child should go through that. And the sad thing is that we're living in a community, or in communities, actually a community in St. Lucia, where we know what's going on. We know the children that are suffering. We know the children that are being abused, but we say absolutely nothing and we point fingers at everybody else. It is time for us to wake up and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I need to do something for my neighbor. What about the uncles? What about the aunts? What about the relatives? Do you need to wait for the father or the mother to do something? Can't we step in and do something as a people? And it really touched my heart. I'm out today. I couldn't even focus on work.
Regis said he was at home when the incident occurred, and whilst hearing gunshot ringing in the distance is common, such violence in his community is unheard of.
It was really rapid fire, happened last night. Of course, my family were all shocked. In a few moments later, we saw some people trying to figure out what was happening. One of the neighbors I called and heard that a young man was just tragically killed, not very, very, very far from our house. This has never happened there. And I can't say that I'm too surprised, just because over the last few months, the number of gunshots that we hear at night, people have been talking about it. So we just figured there was going to be, at some point, somebody would have to be at the receiving end of that. We've worked with young people. Dennery, I was born and raised in Dennery. We don't know that sort of a thing. Of late, we've seen all kinds of violence coming out. We're seeing people doing things that traditionally never used to happen in Dennery. People would have told you before that Dennery is a safe space, a safe place to raise your children, to raise your family, to work and so on. But now people are getting increasingly concerned about what is going on.
Regis said now is the time for society to take a hands-on approach in the fight against crime.
I think more of the stories that I heard about what this young man has been through, to put him in that position, whatever position he was in, whatever he did, whatever he received, but whatever, our society allowed it to happen. And I think it is high time for us to do whatever is necessary, whatever we have to do to create that kind of behavior change, that change in our own spirituality. This is Holy Week for us Catholics, This is a time of reflection. And I'm really and truly hoping that people don't just shake their heads and say, you know what, enough is enough. Well, another one again. That is what No, we as a people need to get up, do something to try and change this.
Daniel Laurent's death has been recorded as the island's 13th homicide so far for the year 2021.
The United Workers' Party has confirmed Bertrand Birch Johannes as the endorsed candidate who will contest the Castries South seat in the upcoming general elections. The news came as a bit of a shocker, as some argue that Johannes has been plucked from relative obscurity for a seat held by an incumbent MP who holds the prestigious position of first deputy leader of his party, and whom many would concede is not lacking in charisma in political circles. Mary Isaac, who contested the seat for the UWP in the 2016 election, did so after establishing a national profile and notoriety as the Iron Lady at the helm of the Civil Service Association CSA. According to the UWP, Mary Isaac decided not to contest in a three-way runoff which included Adrian Buffalo Odlum, who also chose not to contest for the candidacy. Efforts to contact Mary Isaac for comment proved unsuccessful up until news time. However, Pinkley Francis, the chairman of the UWP, says all is well within the ranks of the party and that Isaac will throw her full support behind Johannes.
Absolutely no risk whatsoever. Senator Mary Isaac has reassured me and the party that she will be supporting the process and the candidate in cash of 100%. She put her support behind him. There's absolutely no risk in the party. She continued to perform in her role as Minister of Health. And we look forward, obviously, to Mary's support come the general election. So I can assure you that we have her full support. There was we respected her decision, and we support her, and she in turn support us as well. So I can assure you that we are all happy with the outcome.
The party chairman was questioned about why the party felt that Johannes is the man for the job in Castries South. Why Bertrand Johannes for that seat?
To add, I like candidates to sell themselves as well, but Mrs. Johannes, among the candidates who decided to remain, go through the process, is one who is part of the community. He has been making a lot of contribution on the ground, been helping a lot of people. He is in the construction and engineering business. So he obviously has a track record in that area. He felt that it was time to come in and commit to the community, and felt that he has what it takes to battle Ernest in the community in South Castries. So we'll give Mrs. Johannes an opportunity very soon, as early as next week. I suspect we'll do that to meet the press and speak to himself what he brings. But I think we were satisfied with what we saw on paper and what he brings, the level of enthusiasm, the commitment to the community, and his plans to really transform and work with them should he become the rep. So I think it was something that we were sold on, and we put our support behind it.
The UWP Castries South candidate, Bertrand Johannes, is from the Hospital Road area within the Castries South constituency. He was endorsed at an extraordinary National Council meeting held on Tuesday, the 30th of March. This endorsement now establishes a full slate of candidates for the United Workers' Party. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us, still to come. Dennery fishermen say pay them their dues. Bexall residents call out for help, and police warn that blaming alcohol consumption for unlawful behavior will save no one from the law.